Alex, and welcome back to another video. Today I am bringing you a tier ranking. I've never done an official tier ranking on the channel before. I don't think I have done one in a vlog before, but I've never actually just done one on here before. So this is new to me, but I am going to be tier ranking some projects today. I'm going to be doing a separate tier ranking for all of the romances that I have read in my Fantasy Reader Reads Romance vlogs that I've done throughout the year. And I'm also going to be doing another separate tier ranking for my Spinner Wheel books. So those will be coming up later on, but for now we're going to be starting with my other projects. These are all in some way collaborative. The first one that I have is I'm going to be ranking all of the book club's books that I have had on my Discord. So that's my fantasy book club, in which we read a series, my sci-fi book club, in which we read a standalone or a companion novel, and any other buddy reads that might have popped up on that Discord. We're also going to be doing a tier ranking of the first 4 of my friends take over my TBR vlogs that I have been doing. So that would be Esme, Terry, Elise and Chris. So I'm going to be ranking those. And then the last one that I'm going to be ranking is I'm going to be ranking the 5 books that we read for the Coven Reads series that I did with my friends Rachel, Mare, Ray and Laura. And I will link all of those videos down below so that you can check them out, all of the playlists. But I'm really excited to get to this tier ranking. If I'm looking this way, it's because I'm looking at the computer. I'm very sorry. So we're going to be starting with my book club picks from my Discord. It's been a wild ride this year for book club picks. It's been all over the place. I'm not including the Rook and Rose series in here, even though we have read the first one, which is Mask of Mirrors, on the basis that we haven't finished the series, so I'll include that in next year's one of these. However, let's get into the ones that we have got. So the first one we have is the very first book club pick that I had, and that was Earth's Children by Jean M. Auer. We read the first book, which is Clan of the Cave Bear, I think is what the first one's called, and I stopped there. It was a soft DNF, like I still own the books, I haven't unhauled them, but also I'm unsure about this series. There were so many things I did like, but there were so many things that I hated about this series. Since it's, at least for now, a DNF, I don't think anyone continued. I know that Terry has read, I think, either the first 2 or maybe the first 3 books, but he'd already read at least the first 2 before we even started. As a book club, it was such a monumental failure and such a terrible start to the book club. I'm going to put this one in D on the basis that it literally was an epic failure. The first sci-fi book club pick that we had was Winter's Orbit by Everina Maxwell. I really liked this book. I had a great time with it. I really loved the way that the interpersonal relationships between these characters was discussed, and also the lasting effect of domestic abuse. And I love the way that Everina Maxwell tackles consent in such a romantic way. Like, it romanticizes consent, which is just something that I think is beautiful. So I'm going to put this in A tier. It's not quite S tier. It's like not new favorite book, but it was a really, really good time. After the epic failure that was Earth's Children, we decided to do another series, and that was the Soldier's Son series by Robin Hobb. Now, Soldier's Son did not fare much better for me than Earth's Children. Now, Soldier's Son was a second chance series for me. I have loved everything that I read by Robin Hobb in the realm of the Elderlings. So I was desperate to love this series. And the first time I read it, it was not great. I had not the best time with it, and I ended up DNFing it. So this was a second chance for me anyway. But I was hoping that the first time I DNF'd it was because my expectations were wrong, because I was expecting something along the lines of Realm of the Elderlings. Upon reread, I still wanted to throttle our main character enough that I decided that I needed to DNF. So that's where this one comes in, and it's also going in DNF. And I think I'm going to put it underneath Earth Children on the basis that at least Earth Children, it was a soft DNF. Like, it wasn't, I don't like this. I got halfway through the second book in Soldier's Son and I noped out so hard. So I'm going to put that there. The next sci-fi pick that I had was Terraformers by Annalee Newitz. Now, this was fine, which is not a very strong endorsement, I know, but that's all I got, really. It was fine. So I'm going to put this in C. I didn't feel very strongly about it at all. I have spoiler vlogs for all of my sci-fi ones apart from To Sleep in a Sea of Stars, so you can check out more in-depth thoughts if you want those. But yeah, I had so many meh feelings about Terraformers, and it went downhill for me as well. It's such a shame. The next sci-fi pick was Some Desperate Glory by Emily Tesh, and this one I had a great time with as well. I'm going to be putting this one also in A tier on the basis that I had so much fun with this one, but at the same time it was like mind-blowing. I think I liked it a bit less than Winter's Orbit just because I was a bit swoony about Winter's Orbit, so I'm going to put it here underneath Winter's Orbit, where it was good. I had a good time with it. I'm really glad that I read it. I didn't fall in love with the characters the same way as I did with Winter's Orbit, so that seems right. During the summer, we also had a buddy read of the Monk and Robot series by Becky Chambers. I did think about separating these, but I don't feel particularly differently about the two books. I did like the second one more, but I don't think you can enjoy the second one without having read the first one. It all felt like very interlinked to me. So I'm going to keep it together, and I'm going to put them at the bottom of A, I think, because the second one I felt more strongly about. But I really, really liked the message of these books. They were very gentle, but also, as is expected with Becky Chambers, you do get bashed about the head with her themes a little bit. She's not subtle with her themes, which I don't mind. I quite like books that are brutal with their themes, so that's fine for me. I really liked the gentility of the story as well. So yeah, that seems like a good place to put it. Like, I had a really good time with it. The next of the sci-fi book club picks was Ocean's Echo. I'm going to put Ocean's Echo at the top of B tier. Like, I really did like Ocean's Echo. It wasn't as good as Winter's Orbit, and I definitely think about Winter's Orbit substantially more than I do about Ocean's Echo. So to me, it seems sensible to put that one there because there is a marked difference between the two. So I think a tier difference makes sense. The next sci-fi pick, however, was To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. I hated this book. I think everyone who buddy read this, aside from maybe 2 people, hated this book. There were at least 2 DNFs. I think both Rachel and Matt DNF'd this book. I should have DNF'd this book. I did. I soft DNF'd it, and everything I was reading was digital. And then I got a migraine, so it was easier for me to read physically. So that's where I picked this back up and I just finished it. But I should have DNF'd it. I'm going to put this above Soldier Sun on the basis that I could finish it. Like, I could not finish the second Soldier Sun book. You could not pay me to finish that book. Well, To Sleep in a Sea of Stars, I did finish it. I shouldn't have, but I did. That's the only logic in being able to discern this tier. And the last one I have is Hum. I think I'm going to put Hum above Ocean's Echo in B tier. I had a really good time with this one. Now, this is not one that is built for falling in love with characters. This is not a character work book, but it was a really good book for what it was trying to do. It had really good tension and suspense. It was very thematically rich. I think putting it at the top of B tier feels good because, again, I really liked both of these. They were very good books. They can't go any lower, but also I do feel like I like these notably more, so the tier difference is kind of necessary. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I'm happy with those choices. So let's move on to the next one. The next one we have is the My Friends Take Over My TBR tier. Now, this one is basically me going through all of the books that my friends have made me read in those vlogs. I have 4 vlogs, as I said. I have the first one, which was where Esme took over my TBR, the second one where Terry took over my TBR, the third one where Elise took over my TBR, and the fourth one where Chris took over my TBR. And for this one, I am thinking that I'm going to go by person. I don't know the exact order in which I read them, so I'm just going to go by person. So I need to go find all of the Esme ones and go through those first. Esme had kind of 2 vlogs. She had one where I read some either standalones or first books in series. Then she had one where I read an entire series, where I binged it. We're going to start with the first couple of books that I read for the first vlog, which was just like the separate books. And I guess we'll start with The Fangs of War by E.J. Dobble. How did I feel about this one? I liked it. I didn't love it. I think I'm going to put this in C, at the top of C. I had a really good time with the book. It did have some writing issues, and I don't think that it was like the most unique, but it also was a really entertaining story, and I am excited to continue on with the series. So it makes sense that it's not going in D. I didn't dislike it, but I don't feel very strongly about it now, a year after I read it, if that makes sense. Like, I've not picked up the sequels voluntarily. Like, if it comes up in a TBR jar, I'll be happy to read it. I'm not clamoring daring to continue. The next one I have here is the complete opposite, and that is Legacy of the Brightwash. This is going in S tier. I loved this book. This was such a well-written story. I had such an amazing time reading this, and I am really glad Esme made me read this, because it was one of the ones I think I was procrastinating on reading because I was intimidated by it. So I'm really glad that I have had occasion to read it. And that is one where I haven't read the sequel, because this one ended in a way where I needed the next book, but I know the same happens with the next book, and I don't know when the third book is coming out. So that's one that I have put off, but not for the same reasons that I haven't bothered to pick up the sequel for Fangs of War. And the last one for that vlog that was like a separate book is The Wick Whale Watch. This one's going in A tier. I love this. The audiobook for this was fantastic. I really enjoyed listening to the audiobook. I loved the setting of this book. It was such a good story. It took me a little while to get into it, I think, from what I remember. So I am glad that I kind of persevered, because then it did become like an absolute stellar read. And I'm really glad that Esme made me read this, because it wasn't really particularly on my radar. So A tier. Now for the series that Esme made me read. Now Esme made me read Nevernight. I liked Nevernight more than I had been led to believe I would. I had issues with the bi representation. And again, that's a personal thing. Each person has their own experiences with bisexuality. I'm not a monolith. I had problems with the way that the bisexuality was sexualized in this story. So I'm going to be putting this one in B. B feels right. I liked it. I had problems. The second one, God's Grave, I did like more. I think I'm going to put that one above Nevernight, but still in B. The same problems did persist, but I knew that going in. You know, I signed up to continue the series, so that's fine. And then I'm going to put Dark Dawn at the end of A. I did like Dark Dawn the most. Now, I understand that a lot of people don't like the way this story goes, but I think because I knew what I was getting into by this point, I was just along for the ride a lot more, and I ended up enjoying it more because of that. So I'm going to put that there. So now we're going to move into my Terry vlog. Terry had something similar where he made me read the start of a series and then a standalone and then also a series, but he didn't actually make me read the series. He recommended the first book, and I thought, oh, I'll binge the series. I should not have done that, but we'll get to that. So we'll start with the Rhino Keeper. I liked the Rhino Keeper. I think there were like a lot of historical, not inaccuracies, it's more just like the veneer through which it showed history was very light. For a story about animals and that had a little bit of intersectionality with having people from other nationalities, would have liked it to have gone more in depth, but that was not the intention of the book. So that's a me thing, not a book thing. So we're going to put this one, I think, also at the top of B. Do I like it more than God's Grave? I might put it in the middle of those two. That seems about right. Because there wasn't particularly anything wrong with Nevernight other than my own experiences, which then by the time I got to God's Grave was not a problem, because I knew what I signed up for. So I'll put it there. I'll put it in between the two. The next one I have is Hall of Bones. I really liked Hall of Bones. Hall of Bones can go in the middle of A. Yeah, that seems right. I'm going to put it there. I don't think that this necessarily is a hugely new story, but I think the way that the author went about it was really, really entertaining and really good. I don't have very strong memories of it, aside from really enjoying it. So the lasting impact of it was more just I enjoyed this story than any individual component of the book. Again, I have very strong feelings about enjoying it, so I'm going to put that there. But now we're going to get to the series. So we have Bloodsong, which is the one that Terry told me to read. Bloodsong is going at the top of S tier. I loved this book. It was such a good fantasy. I had a great time with it. Is it the most innovative story I've read? No, not at all. Did I enjoy it anyway? Yes, I did. But then we get to Tower Lord. Now, Tower Lord was a big disappointment. I'm going to put that in C. I was really disappointed in it because I had hoped to enjoy it as much as I enjoyed book one. And it just wasn't as good. And I didn't really recognize the characters because they were written in a completely different manner. And I really struggled with that. So then I thought maybe it's middle book syndrome. So then we get to Queen of Fire. And I did not like Queen of Fire. I had such a terrible time with that book, and it's such a shame because, again, I loved book one. Like you can see, I loved it. And then the other two were just such a monumental disappointment. And Terry did not recommend these two, but they were in these vlogs, so there it stays. The next video we have is Elise. Now, Elise has a similar thing to Esme and Terry, where she recommended some standalones and first books in series, and then she also recommended a series to binge. Now, within the standalones that she recommended, it was was one that actually does have a sequel. So it reads as a standalone, but then had a sequel released ages later. And I'd picked up both. So I thought, well, I might as well read both. But she hadn't read the sequel. So it's kind of a recommendation, kind of not. So the one she recommended was An Unkindness of Magicians. And I really liked this one. I think I'm going to put this just here above Hall of Bones. This was a really good book. I really liked the atmosphere of this. And I really liked the conversation this book was having. I really think it was thematically rich. And I don't necessarily think that any of the characters are like new favorite characters, but I think that the plot and the themes were really strong. Then we get to the sequel, and I liked the sequel, but I didn't like it as much as the first book. And I thought that the sequel really should have maybe tackled wrapping up some of those themes in a little bit more of an ambiguous way of just like, actually, just because this thing has happened doesn't mean that the entire society will restructure itself overnight, which I did appreciate. I just would have liked it to have gone into that a little bit more, but I did still really enjoy it. So I think I'm going to put this at the top of B. The next one that we have from Elise is Redemption in Indigo. This one I really liked. It was very wacky. It was a very entertaining time. I'm going to put this at the top of B, I think. I don't necessarily think this is like new favorite territory, but it is very memorable and very enjoyable read, and I just love the setting and the characterization of the story, and I really did appreciate the way the story was told. It felt like a T. Kingfisher but better, but not better, that sounds wrong, but T. Kingfisher but with a different cultural resonance to it, which makes it feel a lot more unique and a lot more immersive because it's something new and refreshing to a Western culture and allows us to read this fairy tale like element from a different culture that is not just rehashing a Brothers Grimm vibe. The next one that we have is The Beautiful Ones by Silvia Moreno Garcia. This one is going at the top of A. I had a great time with this book. This one, I think for me with The Beautiful Ones, it was Jane Austen-ness, but I also got it from a different culture. And I love that. I love that I get things that I love within the typical spheres in which they are written, taken elsewhere. And I loved that. And I think that was done so well in this. And it really did reignite my love for Silvia Moreno Garcia, because I was on the rocks with her for a hot minute there. So I'm really glad that I enjoyed this one. And then the series that Elise had me read, the Winnowing Flame trilogy. And for this one, we have The Ninth Reign, which is going there. We have Bitter Twins, which is going there. And we have Poison Song, which is going there. I think that book made me sob. I loved this trilogy so much. I had such a good time with it. I loved the characters. Vintage is one of my new favorite characters of the year. This series will definitely be making its way onto my favorite series list. Is probably the main reason I'm going to have to redo my favorite series list, because other than that, I don't really think there's a huge amount of changes happening this year. But yeah, loved it. And the last vlog we have is Chris from A Fictional Escapist. And this one is my most recent one. I did this in November. And I think for me, this was the wildest ride of a vlog for me over any of the vlogs that I have done for this series. And that's after everything that happened with Terry's vlog, with me loving Bloodsong and then by the end of it hating Queen of Fire. So we have The Wolf Den, which was one of my most anticipated reads, and I knew I would love this book. This can go here. I had an amazing time with this book. It was so well written, and I loved the characterization. I loved the way that we depicted our characters as real people without feeling too anachronistic about it being about history. Then The House with the Golden Door was not a fun time. I didn't end up hating it. It did pull through at the end, but I'm still bitter about it. So it's going down here. I wanted to love this book so much, and for the first half of the book, after the 5-star read that was The Wolf Den, I wanted to yeet this book across the room. The second half wasn't too bad. The Temple of Fortuna did bring it back a bit. It can go at the end of B. It did bring it back. It did rescue it. But by that point, I had disconnected from some of the characters, which just was not ideal for such a character-centered story. And I think there was definitely some pacing issues, and it's just not a series that you should binge. That was my thing. I binged this series and I should not have. It's not a binge series. That's not its intended purpose. So yeah, that can go there. However, we have A Taste of Iron and Gold, which can definitely go here. I had a great time with this one. I did want there to be a little tiny bit more time with the fantasy and then a little bit more time with the romance. I felt like we flicked between the two a little bit too much. That happens sometimes for me with fantasy romance, where I want to sit with the fantasy but we're ready to move on to the romance, and then vice versa. I want to sit in this moment with the romance, and then I felt like it maybe went a little bit too quickly back into the plot. It was a standalone book, and obviously there's a limit to the amount of time that we can do that, and I appreciate that, you know, for mass audiences and things, that's not necessarily the thing that you want in romantasy. I get it. So it was an incredibly well written book, 4.5 stars. I had a great time with it. That would be my tier ranking for this series. My friends take over my TBR, with Terry coming in both top and bottom, which is such a Terry thing to do. But again, this one's not entirely his fault. That one's mostly on me. So yeah, very interesting way that that's turned out. And the top 4, each one is by a different friend, because we've got Terry, then Elise, then Chris, and then Esme, which is also fascinating to me. Interesting tier ranking. Okay, and the last one I have, it's only got 5 books in it. So what I've decreed is I have to put 1 on each tier. I can't have 2 on multiple tiers and then an empty tier. It has to be 1 on each separate tier. At the top, I'm going to put Tales of a Monstrous Heart. I loved this. It's not a 5-star read because there was this one section that I wanted to throttle someone. But other than that, I had an amazing time. The atmosphere in this book, the characters, the romance, so much. I loved this book. It deserves top spot. I think in second place, I'm going to put Sword Crossed. I really did enjoy the romance in here. Now this, again, not my favourite Freya Mask. That's still got to go to the Last Binding series, but I really love the atmosphere in here. I love the kind of Renaissance vibe that we've got, a little bit Dangerous Liaisons vibe. I enjoy that kind of setting, and yeah, that's going there. In B tier, I'm going to put Green Teeth, which was the first one that we did, and I really like the mythology in here. Now, there is a section in this book that I dislike. There is definitely a section in that book that I had problems with, so it can't go any higher. But the highs were very high, so the good stuff was really good, and the stuff I had problems with were not great. So it needs to go there. I'm going to put Dragonfall in C. I think, like, if I weren't in this weird conundrum that I've made for myself, Dragonfall would go higher. It would go next to Green Teeth. I think of them on a par. I know everyone else hated it, apart from Ray and me. I really enjoyed this book, but I don't think it's a very memorable book. Like, I remember more from Green Teeth than I do from Dragonfall, and that's why it needs to go below Green Teeth. I don't love it as much as I loved Sword Crossed and Tales of a Monstrous Heart. So Green Teeth and Dragonfall are on a par for me, but I think I find Green Teeth more memorable, even though there were things that I disliked about it more than Dragonfall to an extent, but I find it more memorable, so it gets to rank above. At the bottom, I'm gonna have to put This Will Be Fun. I had a horrible time with this book, and I'm so sorry, right? But I really struggled with this book because, I mean, I had so many problems. I could list them all. The fact it's pitched as a queer book, but it's so heterocentric, and we just happen to have like queer characters there. And then we also have certain elements of the writing that I didn't like. The plot just, it felt like torture getting through this book. I had a horrible time getting through this book. So yeah, I'm gonna leave that there. And there you have it. Those are my tier rankings for all of the books that I have read for my book clubs, my friends take over my TBR, and the Coven Reads videos. As I said, they will all be linked in the description, all of the different playlists, so you can go see more in-depth thoughts if you are interested. But yeah, what a year. I mean, granted, 2 of the My Friends Take Over My TBR videos were from last year, so it's a year and a bit, but what a year for collaborating. And I have had such a good time. That's the thing that I wanted out of this community, was just to have people to share these experiences with. Be it the terrible time that I have had with some of the book club picks that I myself have chosen, be it collaborating on videos and the chaos that came with creating those videos with the Coven Reads, or just having my friends push me to read things that I wouldn't normally gravitate towards, or things that I hadn't prioritized before, or things that I was putting off reading, like in My Friends Take Over My TBR videos, has been just so much fun, and everything that I wanted to get out of this community. So thank you everyone who has contributed to this in some way, shape or form. If you've joined in a book club, if you have chatted to us in the Coven Reads, obviously all of my friends from the Coven Reads videos, and of course all of my friends that have taken over my TBR in the last year and a bit. Thank you ever so much for watching, for engaging. That is literally the point of what I'm doing here. It's to chat to people about books. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Let me know if you disagree with me on any of these rankings. Let me know if you want to see more content like this later on down the line. As I said, I have 2 more tier ranking videos coming soon, so stay tuned. But thank you, and I will catch you in another one soon. Bye!